It was 9:27 a.m. on December 13th, 1943. The morning haze over Assam, India, clung to the hills like a ghostly veil, obscuring what would soon become a scene of sheer chaos. Second Lieutenant Philip Adair, only 23 years old, gripped the controls of his Curtiss P-40N Warhawk, nicknamed Lulu Bell, as he pulled the aircraft into a steep, climbing turn. His heart raced. His mind, sharp and alert, ran through every detail he had learned over his 43 combat missions with the 89th Fighter Squadron protecting the Hump airlift. Today, he was alone. 3 miles east, 64 Japanese aircraft pierced the morning mist, heading straight for Denjan Airfield, the base he and his fellow pilots had sworn to protect. In the previous 8 weeks, Japanese raids had devastated Allied airfields across northeast India, destroying 47 transport aircraft and killing 112 personnel. Today could be another disaster, but if Adair could act quickly, he might prevent it. He scanned his P-40. Lulu Bell was armed with 650 caliber Browning machine guns, loaded with just 12 seconds of sustained fire. It was enough, but barely. The enemy formation consisted of 24 Mitsubishi Ki 21 Sally bombers, escorted by about 40 Nakajima Ki, 43 Oscar fighters. Intelligence reports had shown that similar raids in Burma had achieved 90% hit rates on undefended airfields. Below him, Denjan Airfield was alive with activity. 14 C-47 transport planes loaded with critical supplies for Chiang Kai-shek's forces in China, a field hospital treating 63 wounded soldiers, and fuel sufficient for 11 days of operations over the Hump. If these bombers struck unopposed, as the consequences would ripple across the Himalayas for weeks. Adair's eyes flicked to the fuel gauge. Full tanks, 180 gallons, roughly 90 minutes of flight at combat power. The Japanese were 3,000 feet below him, moving at 240 miles per hour. Standard doctrine said to wait for reinforcements if outnumbered more than 5-1. Adair had 64-1 odds. Waiting wasn't an option. He pushed the throttle forward. The Allison V-1710 engine roared to life, accelerating Lulu Bell to 320 miles per hour. Positioned 4,000 feet above the bomber formation, he approached from the south, the rising sun behind him. The Oscars had not yet spotted him, their attention fixed on the target below. Adair's mind raced. Surprise is my weapon. He lined up on the lead bomber, 6 aircraft in 2 Vs of 3. Rolling inverted, he dove from his 7 o'clock high position, his airspeed screaming past 360 miles per hour. At 800 yards, he opened fire. Tracers arced toward the Sally's left wing. Fabric tore, metal sparked. The bomber's port engine erupted in orange flame, black smoke trailing behind. The formation scattered into chaos. But the danger was far from over. 40 Oscars now dove toward him, their nimble frames cutting through the sky like knives. The Nakajima Ki-43 was one of the most maneuverable fighters in the Pacific, capable of tighter turns than any Allied plane. Adair's P-40 could outpace them in a straight line, but in a sustained dogfight, he would lose energy quickly. He remembered his training: never turn with them, use speed, hit and run, extend, reset. Adair weaved through the sky, firing, pulling, diving, his heart pounding like a drum. Each attack pushed him closer to the limits of his plane. The engine's coolant temperature climbed past 230 degrees Fahrenheit. The aircraft's ammunition was dwindling. Sweat poured down his face, stinging his eyes, blurring the chaos of the battle around him. The lead bomber regrouped. He dove again, opening fire. This time, the right engine of the Sally exploded in a fireball, its wing tearing away as it rolled into the jungle below. Each bomber Adair struck scattered its formation, but more bombers and fighters were relentless in their pursuit. Minutes passed, or maybe hours. Time stretched in the high-stakes ballet of aerial combat. His P-40's engine began to overheat. Smoke filled the cockpit. Green coolant sprayed across his windscreen. Oil pressure dropped to zero. The metal screamed under the strain. Yet, somehow, Lulu Bell continued to fly. Adair's thoughts shifted from the battle to survival. If the engine seized, he would plunge into the jungle miles from friendly lines. If he bailed out at this altitude, he risked capture or death. His body was pushed to extremes, his mind hyper-focused on each decision, each split-second maneuver. The bombers were within range. 4 minutes. Adair's hands were shaking, not from fear, though there was plenty of that, but from carbon monoxide poisoning and the constant strain of controlling a dying aircraft under relentless fire. His right aileron cable snapped, the elevator controls failed, the P-40 pitched dangerously toward the earth. Then an idea struck him. He rolled the aircraft inverted. Gravity, the damaged controls, and sheer instinct became allies. Flying upside down reversed the inputs. What had been pulling him toward the jungle now helped lift him. 'Tis keeping the aircraft stable enough to continue climbing. For 40 seconds he flew upside down, the world red at the edges of his vision. Sweat, blood, and adrenaline coursed through him. Around him, the Oscars hesitated. One dared to dive close, but then broke away. They were witnessing something impossible. A single pilot in a burning, dying plane refusing to die. Adair rolled right side up, continued his rolling climb toward Naguli, 43 miles away. The Japanese had given up the chase. His mission was not over, but the immediate threat to Denjon Airfield had been neutralized. The supply aircraft below would remain intact. Lives had been saved. As the P-40 limped toward the airfield, every system failing, Adair's mind reflected on what had just occurred. Courage, ingenuity, and a refusal to surrender had made the difference. He touched down, battered and exhausted, the cheers of ground crews a distant hum through his smoke-filled cockpit. He had done the impossible. The battle would be recounted in whispers across the Pacific theater, a tale of heroism, skill, and sheer human determination. And for Philip Adair, it was just another day, an extraordinary day, in the unforgiving skies of World War II.